Hi guys, welcome to my first video of 2026. Today I'm going to show you my most cooked Chinese dishes from 2025. They're very nostalgic dishes for me since these are dishes that I grew up eating as a kid. For those of you who don't know, I am Chinese, specifically from Fujian. I do speak Fujianese, although it's not very good. A lot of the dishes I'm making today will have some Fujianese influence to them because that's what I grew up eating. So without further ado, here are my most cooked Chinese dishes from 2025. Starting off with my favorite dish of this whole video, I think, is steamed fish with soy sauce. This dish is very nostalgic. My parents would cook this all the time for dinner. The only difference is that they would use whole fish. I usually use fish fillet. Fish fillet is just easier to find in American grocery stores, and it's also easier to work with. Also, a whole fish, kind of intimidating to work with sometimes. When I first tried to figure out how to make this on my own, I was very confused and intimidated about what type of fish to use. So here's a list of all of the fish you can use for this dish. Slice your ginger that you literally bought yesterday for this video, only to realize that it's rotten once you've cut it on camera, and then go to a different store and buy a fresh piece of ginger and cut it into 8 to 10 pieces. I'm never ever trusting D'Agostino again for produce. Slice your green onions into 3-inch pieces and then cut that into very thin pieces. It really doesn't have to be perfect here, as long as it's thin, you're good. Then place a couple pieces of ginger on a plate. Then you place the fish on top. I like to cover it up with a good amount of ginger. It helps remove some of that fishy taste. Next, get your steaming apparatus ready. Don't do what I did here and use a plate that was the same size as the pot. So ideally you want a pot that is larger than the plate you're using so that it's easier to remove. But I don't have any pots that are bigger than this, so I chose to struggle. When I cook, I don't really do measurements, I kind of go off of the vibe. So for the sauce, I would say I used about 1 to 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing wine, then a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar, a sprinkle of MSG, and 1 tablespoon of water. Now I better not hear in the comments that MSG is evil, because that is not true. You can leave it out. I really just do whatever you want. Leave it out, leave it in, but don't say that it's evil because it's not. Then pour it on a pan. You really just want to heat this up. You don't have to let it sit for that long. Next, you're gonna take the fish out of the pot that you were steaming it in. I really tried to be elegant with this video, but oh, I can't get it out. Oh. Once you've wrangled the fish out of the pot, pour that sauce you just heated up onto the fish. Then remove the ginger and place a bed of green onions on the fish. Sometimes I'll also add cilantro for some extra flavor. And then you're gonna heat up 3 to 4 tablespoons of oil in a pan. You'll know it's done once the oil starts to shimmer a little bit and smoke. Once it's heated up, pour it directly onto your green onions to cook them. And then there you go. This is probably my favorite dish to make. Very good. If I had to guess what dish I cooked the most in 2025, I think it's steamed eggs with mushrooms. First, crack 4 eggs into a heat-safe container, then add 1 cup of water to the eggs. And then my secret ingredient is this chicken bouillon powder. This chicken bouillon powder just works a lot better with Chinese dishes in my experience. You can also substitute this with chicken stock. Then once you're done mixing, you're gonna place the eggs on a steam rack and cover it with a lid. Steam the eggs for 5 minutes on medium heat, and then once the 5 minutes is done, turn the heat off and let the eggs rest with the lid on for 10 minutes. Then you want to dice an excessive amount of mushrooms. It's usually the whole box. I really like a lot of mushrooms in mine. You can really use whatever mushrooms you like. Today I used baby bella mushrooms, but I also really like making this with shiitake mushrooms. Then mince some leek. You can also use green onions, and then mince 1 to 2 cloves of garlic depending on how much garlic you want to add. I added oil to the pan and then I added the garlic and leek first. Stir that a little bit and then add the mushrooms. Cook down the mushrooms until most of the water is gone. It takes about 3 minutes. Add 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing wine. Add 1 teaspoon of soy sauce, the tiniest amount of sesame oil, and then 1/4 teaspoon of dark soy sauce. Give that a stir. Once the eggs are done, take it out of the pot and then pour the stir-fried mushrooms on top. This is my favorite breakfast dish. It has such a soft, almost custard-like texture, and typically I'll eat this with rice. This next dish is a childhood favorite. This is stir-fried water spinach with garlic. First, I'll just grab a handful of water spinach from the bag and then cut it into 3-inch pieces. Traditionally, you're supposed to hand pull each leaf from the stem, but who has time for that? So I just use a knife. After that, mince 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. You do want to use a lot because this is going to be the main flavor of the dish. Also, side note, I've been working on my knife skills for the past year. There's this technique where you're supposed to use your fingers as a claw to guide the knife, and I've been practicing that, and I do feel like it's made my prep time a lot faster. Alright, so next, on a pan, cook the garlic first for a few seconds, and then add the water spinach. When I first had this dish, I was living in China with my aunt, and she would cook this every night for dinner. This was the first vegetable dish I remember really liking as a kid, and I eat it to this day as an adult. Alright, so then I stir fry this for about a minute. After that, I'll add a little bit of water to just steam fry the vegetables, then put a lid on it for about a minute. Once that's done steaming, I'll add my salt. I'll add a little bit of MSG. I like adding it at the end. I feel like the texture just turns out a lot better. And there you go, a very easy vegetable dish that's literally 2 ingredients. Next, I'm going to make a bean curd salad. I would always end up making this when I just felt like I needed more protein in my diet, or if I just wanted something cold and light to go with my rice. If you've never done this before, this part might feel a little sus, because peeling apart the bean curd does feel a little weird. Once you've peeled each piece apart, slice the tofu into thin matchstick pieces. Then mince 1 clove of garlic and then chop the green part of 1 green onion. Then add the chopped up garlic and green onions to the tofu. Then add the smallest little driblet of sesame oil. I always try to be really careful with sesame oil because it's very strong. Add 1 to 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, a tiny bit of sugar, and then 1 teaspoon of your favorite chili oil. My favorite is this one from Momofuku. I discovered this after the Momofuku controversy, but I do have to say it is very good. Optionally, you can add a little bit of MSG. Lastly, add a little bit of black vinegar. This helps add a bit of acidity to the salad. You can also use regular vinegar. Give it a stir and it's done. You can eat this with a side of rice. You can have this alone as a snack. It's great, especially if you want to eat more protein. Alright, so that was all I had for today. Let me know if you guys recreated any of these dishes. Feel free to leave a comment for video ideas because I could use some help. That was all I had, so I'll see you in the next video. Bye!